Welcome to the International Teacher Podcast with your host, Kent the Cat Guy, Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting, Darian the Family Guy, and Greg the Single Guy, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best-kept secret in teaching. You got it, international education. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the International Teacher Podcast. This is Greg the Single Guy with JP, my co-host here. Hi, JP.
Hello, good morning. Early morning in Mexico.
Yeah, and I think it's even earlier in Washington, so Kent probably will not be here. And our elusive family guy is somewhere, I don't know. He said he knows about this, but he might be doing some family things right now, right? So Darian won't be with us. But we have two special guests this time, JP, not just one. We have two ladies with us. And what's great about this is that they are international teachers, but they are in the U.S. teaching. As international teachers, I want to introduce Subhadra and Coreen. Did I say your names correctly?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. Say hello, Subhadra.
Hello from Virginia. It's 9 a.m. here.
All right. And say hello, Coreen.
Hello from North Carolina. It is 9 a.m. here. Greg, great to meet you. JP, excited to meet you. I've listened to you go on and on in different episodes, so it's great to be on this platform.
We have a
love
fan.
to have you two on. It is 4 p.m. here in the Middle East, and JP is just waking up. So anyway, I love having you two ladies on. Let's start our show, JP. And ladies, let's start our show again like we usually do and have a quick rundown. Maybe, Subhadra, you get to go first. What? I'm sorry.
I want to ask, because we want to tell the listeners, they were on 15 minutes before we joined and we're chatting with each other. So I want to know first, how do they know each other?
Before we get into your educational journey, yeah, tell us how you met each other and all that good stuff. Come on, ladies. One of you can go.
Okay, so we did not actually meet physically yet, but we did get a chance to video chat right before this for 15 minutes. So the reason how we could meet was this Corinne's fourth edition book. When she compiled the book by interviewing a lot of international teachers, I was one of them who got interviewed. I gave my input after I bought the book that she wrote. Beautiful book with all the guidelines for the budding teachers, especially international teachers. So when I gave my input, I had a couple of topics that I wanted to be included. And she graciously said, let us team together and write the second book. And from then on, we have been in touch and we are collaborators. Corinne, want to add something?
Yep, absolutely accurate. What was interesting though, JP, like Subhadra said, we've never met face to face. And this is the first time I'm seeing her face, except for on LinkedIn or Facebook. I've never seen her. So when we logged in to play with the platform a little bit earlier, she's like, oh my gosh, it's good to see you. I'm like, oh, Subhadra, it's so good to see you. That's what you look like. So we just kept going on and on and on. So yeah, that's it.
All right. I'm excited to hear your journeys because I kind of got some hints there. Now, Greg says you're international teachers in the States. Coreen, can you tell us a little bit what that means?
Okay, so international teacher being in the States, I am originally from Jamaica. So I've listened to you and Greg over the past couple of weeks, listening to different podcasts. I feel like the journey is a little bit the same. So I was in Jamaica teaching for like 10 years and got a little bit bored of it, for want of a better word. I'm like, there's got to be something else out there. And so I started to do some research. And in doing the research, I came across this organization that was sponsoring teachers. And I'm like, this may be interesting. Coincidentally, the following week, or, for whatever reason, I ran into a girlfriend of mine. And she's like, oh, my sister is teaching in the US. I'm like, tell me about that. And she mentioned the name of the organization, which was the same organization I was researching. And then she looked at me and she said, oh, but they only take teacher in the elementary division. Because I'd done some prior research, I'm like, no, they don't. They take teachers from the secondary level as well. So she's like, would you like to apply? I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go for it. This is going to sound like I'm very ancient, but I'm going to share it anyway. I did not even have an email address at the time. I know.
Wow.
How long ago were we talking?
Carrier pigeon.
Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we went through the process, and then, long story short, we can go back into the story a little bit later. They sent me, I was selected to be interviewed. And once the interview was over, they were like, oh, do you care where in the United States you go? I'm like, I don't. I just need a different scenery. I just need something else. And so they placed me in North Carolina. And so I was absolutely thrilled about the entire journey. And then that's it. I ended up in North Carolina. And let's say 2 years after, I'm still here. Trying not to date myself at this point anymore.
Okay. So are you saying you've only been in the States for 2 years?
No, I'm just trying not to date myself. Next thing, somebody's going to think I'm like 90 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, this is also on YouTube, and people are going to see that you're much younger than what you're making yourself out to be. If they're going to jump from listening to YouTube just to check that out, we can say, hello, new YouTube users.
I know, right? Yeah, but Greg is absolutely right. It's been 20 years.
Well, I was just joking, actually. No kidding? You've been teaching that long? You don't look like you've been teaching that long. Tell you the truth.
Thank you so very much.
Listening audience, nope. She's young. She's a cherub. She's amazing.
Okay. So, Subhadra, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and where you came from and where you are now?
Sure. So around the same time, 20 years ago, in my country, which is India, we moved from a smaller town to a city. My husband got transferred we moved to that new city, which is a suburb of Delhi. So that's where people were talking about teachers coming to the United States and the UK. And I'm always curious and adventurous. I said, really? Teachers are going out? Because I knew about IT professionals. I said, what do teachers do? Because we always thought, or at least I thought, it is different. Like teaching content as well as the way we teach is different. But when I heard that people are coming, teachers are coming, so I showed interest. So I had one of my friends, she showed me a newspaper ad that a group from the US actually came to interview in Delhi. So all that I had to do was to take a cab and just go there for the interview. I just went, I was laughing the whole day there, made some new friends. I wasn't thinking about coming, but I just want to be part of it. I said, let's see how far it goes. Almost a year they take to process and then documentation and all. So you forget about that actually. But after a year, I did get a chance to come to, believe it or not, to North Carolina. So, but I was like, that's why I was not introduced to Coreen at the time. So I did my 3 years teaching there. Teaching is like, so when I used to teach here, there are a lot of resources in this country. I would get glued to all that and say, oh, it was actually helping me understand better. So I said, oh yeah, this is something that I want to. And then I also realized that I was able to give back to the students. I could share my culture. So I got so much love. So I just said, okay, let's see how much I can contribute. So Coreen and I, what we always talk is, even after so many years, both of us are still passionate about teaching. We're always willing to give back. What next? We get bored of doing the same old, and we add up something new. So this podcast, after so many years, we are blessed. We feel blessed that we have a chance to, communicate to the world through this. So that's basically brought us here. And as I said, we're still exploring the field of education and getting into new ventures like book and now this podcast. So that's what that is.
Welcome to the family. That's what we do here. We're trying to give back. All of our co-hosts, the whole show is set up on how do we help other people do what we love doing, which is not only teaching, but teaching in another country besides your home country. And we've been doing it for years, just like you guys. I've been out for about 25-ish years, and JP's right behind me, and you ladies are following just a little bit. So it's amazing how it all fits together. And that's why I love having authors, especially international teachers that have become authors, come onto the show and share what they have. But it's so special to have you both on, like we said before, because you are international teachers in my country, right, as guests, and I'm in a different country as a guest. So I've never been to Jamaica and I've never been to India. How about you, JP?
India, yes. Jamaica, no. So Delhi and Chennai, and the third one was Mumbai.
Very nice. You kind
Yeah.
of covered the major cities there.
Yeah, and it's just because of the sports association. I was at an American school in the Middle East, and we were part of a sports association that goes to India for tournaments, and Indian schools, Indian international schools come to our school for tournaments. And so I was able to travel. I mean, I was able to travel to 6 different cities in 3 different countries because of the sports. And so that's another great thing about joining an international school is you have that opportunity to travel even with your students, not just out of pocket, but also
What
with
sports
students.
is it, if I may ask?
It was volleyball. It was girls volleyball. So I was the assistant coach or the JV coach, and in the American system they have varsity and junior
Yes.
varsity. I suppose you probably know that. And so I was the JV coach for volleyball. And then that means that the JV coach travels with the varsity coach as the assistant. And so we got to go to the American Embassy School in Delhi, the American International School in Chennai, and the American School of Bombay. So having seen those 3 schools in those 3 cities, I would not deem myself any expert on India, but it gives me a glimpse of the culture because, as you know, you step out of the school and it's the culture's right there. And sometimes it's in the school as well, but it's, the neighborhoods and getting to see some of the tourist sites that are the main ones. But what I'd like to know from the two of you is I'm hearing this book. So can you tell us the title so that everyone like me that's super curious wants to know right away? What is the title of your book, Corinne?
Okay, so just before, look at Subhadra. Keep holding it, Subhadra, but because before I answer that question, I've got to say, JP and Greg, you've not lived until you visited Jamaica. So just hint, hint.
Yes.
Okay.
What's on my
Okay,
list? I'm going. I want to go.
yes,
I can't wait. The food, like jerk chicken and stuff.
Oh, that's right. And the music. Yeah.
yes, yeah, absolutely. So I needed to plug that first. But
Thank
yes,
you.
Subhadra's got a copy of that book right there. It's Reaching Beyond Borders, the
Yeah, it's only the mirror. That's why I was trying to take it
No,
away.
no, we can see it correctly. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
right.
that's good.
Yeah, so it is Reaching Beyond Borders. This is our second edition. First edition, I did solo, and then Subhadra and I teamed up to do a better edition, I will say.
She needed some spice from me.
I have a question for you. When you shared it with Subhadra, did you like send her a copy of it, and did she send you like 50 different WhatsApp video like pictures of corrections?
Screenshots.
She did not. I actually
You're
sent her the
lucky.
link, and then she was like, "Oh my goodness, I purchased it. It's amazing. This is what I think. Oh my God, there's so much good content in this. I think teachers need to get a hold of this." And then she's like, I think we could do something on mentoring because that's so very important. At what point I'm like, okay, Subhadra, do you want to do a chapter on mentoring? She's like, I would be delighted to. Go for it, Subhadra. And so she kept doing, pieces, and we went back and forth on that for a while. So she'll send me something. I'll be like, oh yeah, this is great. Can you think about this piece? And that just happened for a while. But Greg, not from Subhadra, I didn't, but I had a relative who was like, this sentence, could you add something here? I'm like, okay, do you want to author? Do you want to be an author to this? What do you need from me? But the feedback overwhelmingly has been very, very positive. There was one lady who reached out to me and she's like, you did this for international teachers, but I think teachers on a whole could really benefit from this because there were so many teaching strategies that we incorporated. And there was a whole segment on assessments because assessments in the US is a little bit different from what I was accustomed to in Jamaica. So just sharing that whole, on a bigger scale was like, okay. So the feedback, like I said, was really good. Not much like, I don't want to say criticisms. I would more say, room for improvement.
There, let me see, Greg. It was my 55 screenshots were room for improvement.
No
That's what happened
screenshots.
with me.
Yes,
With
one
my
or two
second book, she
sentences
sent
there.
me these
Yes.
screenshots of all the corrections because I just whipped it up in like a couple days and then posted it. And she went back and she's like, Greg, this sucks. We need to change this. Here, looks at this. right? Constructive criticism in a great way, right?
So, Coreen, what inspired you to write the first edition of the book? And it sounds like it was a solo project at first. What made you think? I mean, did you look out there and see that there was nothing of its kind, or were you inspired by another book that was similar?
So, no book that was similar. What happened is I continue to keep in touch with international teachers, those who are coming now and those who have phased out of the system, gone back to their country or continued here in some other role. But what I hear and continue to hear is that we're having great teachers come into the US because the organization that I came with specifically, they look for the creme de la creme when it comes to teachers in other countries. So when we get great teachers come into the United States and I hear that they're struggling, it literally breaks my heart because I know they're great. And I know that when you know you're really great at something and then you're not getting that feedback within a different sphere, it can really put a damper on your entire being. So then I started to think, maybe if I can get something out there to better prepare them for a different culture, then that would take a little bit of the shock out of it and they would be more prepared when they come into the United States to function because, like I said before, recruiting companies take the best of the best. All the teachers that I've interacted with, they are great. But coming into a different environment, that can be a little bit challenging. Things that you're accustomed to doing one way in your country, the philosophies you use in your country when it comes to teaching will look a little bit differently in a different culture. And I think, for example, coming from Jamaica, rote learning was back in those days, it was the go-to. And so coming into the United States and you're hearing about, critical thinking and collaboration and all of that. I remember distinctly, like in Jamaica, for example, if you did a test and you got 60% on that test, that's it. That's your grade. You're going to live with that grade. In the United States, it's a little bit different. You get a chance to make corrections, make edits, and retest, which I really like because in real life, that's how things happen, really. You don't get one shot at life, and if you don't do well, that's it. You get a chance to correct. And so I wanted to prepare teachers who are coming to say, expect these, and these are ways in which you can be better prepared. These are ways in which you can overcome some of these challenges. So that was my first thought. And especially, I think 2 years ago or three, one teacher in the middle of her contract, she was sent back to her country because she wasn't performing. And I'm only familiar with that one case. I'm sure there are probably others. And I thought to myself, it's really a shame because if these teachers get the tools that they need, I am very, very confident that they're going to excel. And so, too, on that same vein, there was a teacher, and she would talk to me every day, like crying almost. And we shared tips and strategies and everything. I promise you, the following year, she was new teacher of the year in that district. And so I think to myself, with few tools or with additional tools and additional supports, these teachers can be amazing because I know they were amazing in their country. And so I kind of looked out there, what's available, are there books out there? And there was really nothing. And so I thought to myself, that's a shame. So let's plug this, let's fix this. And that was the genesis of that.
And was it a solo project at the beginning?
Initially, it was, yes. And one of the things I did, and Subhadra, Greg, and I were chatting about it earlier, I just kind of interviewed different teachers to find out what were your struggles, what were your successes, what helped you, what would you want to know if you were to go back in time, what would you want to know before you came to the United States? And so just talking to teachers and hearing from them gave me ideas. Okay, this is what I need to be in this book because these are the things that they're looking for to help them better get into this new system that's a little bit, can be a little bit challenging and intimidating in some ways.
Can you tell us a couple of the countries that the teachers were from, their home countries?
Absolutely. I met Subhadra has a friend, interestingly, Savita from India. So I met Savita because coming into the US too, there's so many opportunities for growth. And so I met Savita when I was doing my master's in the US, which I did at Wake Forest. I've had teachers from Mexico, we're still friends, teachers from Peru. I'm still friends with at least two of them, Brazil, Costa Rica, Jamaica, of course, countries in Africa. I've met Kenyan teachers. I've met teachers from Nigeria. So who else? That's on my bucket list. I think those are the top ones that I still, maintain some kind of conversation with.
And tell us a little bit about so you mentioned a few countries where English is their mother tongue, is the language of the country, but you also mentioned a couple countries where English isn't widely spoken or is one of their major languages.
Right.
What kind of English do they need to come to the US? Is there some kind of a testing system?
There is, and I'm sure with many organizations, but I can speak specifically to the organization that I came with. They have to be proficient in English, and there's like a test that they do. Because in Jamaica, even though we have the Jamaican Creole, it's not an official language. So, Jamaica, for example, the official language is English. So, I did not have to do one of those. But yes, to answer your question, they had to do different tests to teach in the US. And that's one of the things I plugged in the book. For teachers who they struggle, I think sometimes students in the US, some students tend to struggle with the accent more so than the language piece of it. And Subhadra and I had a great conversation about that a while back. But in terms of the language itself, in many ways, I think, like I said before, it's not the language, the cross language that the students struggle with. It's more so the accent. The teachers who come, they are almost always, and I probably should just pull the almost and say the best of the best in their country, like I said. And so if they don't possess that proficiency in English to come to the US, they wouldn't make the cut in the first place. And that's one of the things I always say, you made it here. It means you know enough of the language. You're proficient enough to be able to use it here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made it. So let's not focus on that.
And I would say that's probably the major difference between an international teacher going to the US and an international teacher going to another country is we have the privilege, we don't need to learn the local language to teach in their country. And thank goodness in some cases, because it would be quite a challenge to move from country to country and pick up all those languages. But how fortunate that you both had that opportunity. Many thanks to your own education and your what is the word I'm looking for? Your upbringing in your countries. Subhadra, can you tell us a little bit about how you discovered this book? And you've got a copy, but you had read it. Where did you learn about it?
So, as Corinne mentioned, I was part of the interviewee. Like she interviewed me,
Okay.
Then naturally I was curious to see all that she's written, because I know that her heart, and if you hear her, she's a kind soul. So I knew instantly that she's trying to help the world. And that is something that I strongly believe in too. So before I talk a little bit about the books, when I came my second year, we had in North Carolina, we had about 20 teachers from all over the world, New Zealand, Australia. Of course, we had some Jamaicans, Colombia, and all these places. And they always provide you with a local advisor the first year when a new teacher comes. Things have changed. Actually, the support system has become better now. In some ways, like they would have the phone they would provide, and they would provide them the bank facilities and all in the very first week. For us, there would be a local advisor that would be a veteran teacher, usually international teacher, who would show us around, help us settle. So next 2 years, I was the local advisor for the two new teachers who were coming. And as Corinne mentioned, there's no book, nothing. It's all the experiences that you share. So I was curious. I knew that Corinne must have written all that experiences and all the learnings that she had. So I actually read the entire book. And then she was always big on getting the feedback. She always does things, needs assessment. During the interview for writing the book, she did the needs assessment. What do teachers need? And even after, when I told her that I bought the book and I'm reading it, she says, can you give me your input, honest input? So that's what I did. And for me, in my journey in the US, mentors had played a big role. I came here as an 11 years veteran teacher. But when I started teaching here, I felt like almost like a new teacher, struggling. I was not making the impact that I thought students would kind of, in fact, I can say this. One student mentioned, which hurt me so much, that you don't know how to teach. But I am a teacher at heart. And I always wondered, I did not get upset with the student because I believe that students can do well if they get the guidance, and if they say something, they have freedom of speech, so they say things which they mean. So instead of getting upset, I started introspecting. I observed the student in other classes. So what I realized is, in this country, in many countries now, you have to have sense of humor. My sense of humor from India sounded less sarcasm to these kids here. When I would say like, hey, like if you have a tube light, it means you're like getting it slowly, it's clicking in slowly. My kids in India would laugh if I call them a tube light, if they take some time to understand. But here they would get upset. They say, are you trying to say that we are dumb? I said, no, I did not use those words. So these are the things. Building relationship is very important. And it takes time to understand the culture. Even though you go through orientation, but you don't learn this while experiencing it. So that's one of the things I realized, that you have to have mentors, someone to guide you. What are the things that click for the students here? So by the time I reached my third year of the program, I was successful. My students were doing good, and they were the same kids. What changed was my attitude, my learning. So then, so that's why I give it to the one mentor who told me what are the tools that they need. So I continue on as I'm continuing my teaching journey. I've been a mentor. Every year I try to play a role in different ways. And in 2022, I actually got a district-wide Teacher of the Year award. Thank you. So that comes with more opportunities. People know you. When they know you, they listen to you more. Just around that time, so at that time, I started exploring more. I tried to get my admin degree because now I was more confident to learn more things. And I feel that as an admin, you can actually even have more impact. So around that time, and Corinne has now mentioned she's a counselor. She has so many things, and she's a doctor. She's she has a doctorate degree. So I would say that I'm inspired by everything that she does. So that's how I got in. So after reading the book, when she was willing to take my input, I told her everything looks good. I didn't have any corrections to make. I'm a science teacher, so I'm not a writer or reader, but I'm passionate about what I do. And I feel that to communicate, you don't need a lot of words. So I don't correct on words, but I know the topics. I know the things that we can include. So I suggested that you might want to include a mentoring chapter. I had no intention of joining her as an author. I was just giving her what I felt. But I guess we had to get together to do more things for the world. That's how she suggested that I would like you to contribute as an author. That way you will have more ideas, and then we can kind of feed off each other's ideas. So that's how I joined for her second book. So the chapter that I would say strongly feel is needs for a mentor. That's chapter 4 in the book.
All right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all 4 of us at the itpexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/ITPexpat, where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP Expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at ITP Expats. That's with an S. ITP Expats is our handle.
All right. And thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners. And though we're not monetized, we are here for you. And we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show.
You mentioned that the advisors that were assigned to the new teachers coming in were very often themselves international teachers.
Right. And they will be usually the second year or third year teachers.
And because who better to help than somebody who's gone through the process?
I want to bounce off what you said before earlier on, is that you felt like a new teacher, even though you had 10 years of teaching. Even if you have 20 years of teaching, if you go to a new country, you're a new teacher. And it's one of those things that you just have to wrap your head around it, because you're learning a whole new, maybe not a new way of teaching. I mean, teaching is teaching, but you're learning all the other stuff in life, going home and going shopping, grocery stores, language. There's lots of things going on there. So naturally, even at the school, you're learning how that school works and how your kids actually are going to react. So you are a first year teacher that first time through. Even your second year, you might be. It's really, in my experience, it's the same thing has happened. And I love the way that you specified that, because it's not easy to go from another country and go all of a sudden to North Carolina, right? I can't imagine what it. Go ahead.
That's true. I would like to add one thing here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So there was a teacher who was with me when we were interviewed in Delhi. And as I told you, I was bubbly. I was all like laughing, making friends. And the recruiters actually were watching us through the closed doors, I must say, because when we had individual interview, the recruiter said that's what they like about me, that I was all like bubbly, happy, because they say they're looking for someone who can handle stress. Teaching can be stressful. And I was like, I said, oh, I didn't even really realize. So the friends that I made there, they all saw that part of me. So first year when I was struggling in the US, and one of my friends, when I say friends, the one I met at the interview, when she came to the same place, she saw me and she says, what has changed in you? You're not that happy, not bubbly. First year, all
You
my
not bubbly?
I was not. I was like, because you feel like you're learning things new, and if you have gotten all the recognition in your home country as I would say a good teacher, like you get all the love from your colleagues or administrators, students, and suddenly you say that you're trying to prove yourself here every day. So you have to let go of that ego. Of course, the first 2 months is a shocker to say, I'm not new. I know what I'm doing. I know how you can succeed, but you have to reach out to me or to open up to me. So that opening up wasn't happening. So then you learn something called building relationships. And there is one, so some of the workshop that we attend here talks about capturing kids' hearts before you capture their head. So that learning was new for me here. So
yeah, you were in survival mode.
Yes.
And I recognize that as well, where you get into a situation, you're in a new country, a new school, and you are not yourself. Your regular normal personality isn't coming out because of the stress of the situation. And I was actually in a particular situation, I was accused of being sort of Jekyll and Hyde. Like that I had two personalities, and I kept thinking, what are they seeing? Why are they calling me that? And then I realized it was because every now and then my real personality would come out, the, very, very vivacious, sort of positive, energetic. But most of the time they were seeing this very stressful person. And so they thought I had two personalities. But in fact, you get into that survival mode and trying to keep your head down and not get too noticed.
And I want to hear one special story from you. It was mentioned in your book. Tell us about the driving test, Subhadra.
Man. So I'm not sure whether you all know that we drive on the other side in India. Left. And when I was getting ready to come here, they give you some information. So about driving, I said, I'm going to teach in a small school district. I said, I'll have plenty of time to practice my driving skills. Now, guess what happens? I was, received at the airport when I landed here. I was taken to an orientation. The very second day, they put a group of us in a car, and they made us drive one after the other. It's trying to say, oh, what is this? I just thought it was just like, that's part of some kind of program. We did not know that was a test. This is actually testing our driving skills, and I'm still jet lagged. That's my second day. A few hours in the country.
On the other side too. Oh my God.
On the
Oh my
other
gosh.
side, and also see, if you tell that this is a test, we set our mind into that. You're thinking that you're just getting used because I had a Filipino in my car, I had an Australian in my car, and you all are taking turns, and I'm like, actually, I was proud of myself. Oh, I know, what does this mean right off the way? I knew all these things. Now, they didn't even tell me that I failed at the time. So after 2 days of orientation on Friday, we all were supposed to get back to our small rural area where we were going to teach. This meeting was in a city, and we all had to go on a Friday. In that hotel, we were about 25 of us. Guess who's the only one who had to stay back?
No
Me.
way.
And they just give me a calling card, a $5 card to call home. So I call home, and see, I'm a grown woman. I'm in my 30s at the time. But still, I cried because this was a shocker to me. They just said, okay, they don't even say that, okay, we're going to send you back to your home country. They would just say, you might need some more practice. And that was a weekend, so nobody would tell me, so what does it mean? Am I going back? Am I supposed to do something? So at this point, when I had a $5 calling card, I called my husband. Bless his heart. He says, action plan. Get a driving lesson. And I actually got mad at him. Here I'm saying that I failed the test, and like I thought he would have some consoling words, but he knows, he's pragmatic. He knows that the $5 card would only have a few minutes. He says, get a driving lesson. That's the best advice he gave me. After my crying for a day, I realized, because I was stuck in the hotel anyways for the weekend. So I just said, okay, maybe. So I asked around, and they said, okay, Monday you might be able to get a driving lesson. So here comes their angels in different forms. So there was one of the manager of our sponsors that we had. She took me out to lunch on a Saturday. She showed me while after we ate, like she took me around in her car, giving me some tips. This is how you cross the road. This is how, without saying anything, just calmed me down. All that she said was, driving is not that difficult. Teaching could be. And gets me, like 11-year-old veteran teacher, saying, driving is something I hate. Teaching, I can manage. So that's how the conversation went. She helped me. I have this feeling that she told the person who was giving me the lesson on Monday to give me a pass, a free pass. Because 1 hour, the driver did show me everything. But driving is intuition. I don't think you can hone your intuition just in an hour. But they let me get back to my small rural school, and I was thriving. So when I met her after a year, she says, I took a chance and I believed in you. I said, thank you for believing in me.
I like that, how you said angels come in many, many forms. Coreen, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the struggles you see of international teachers arriving to the States? I know it's a big general question, but if you want to break it down by region, or what are some of the common struggles you're seeing?
Okay, so in some instances, and depending on countries, of course, differentiation in terms of thinking about different languages within a classroom, thinking about students with different disabilities, varying abilities in a classroom. It's not commonplace, especially when I think about Jamaica, for example. There is not much of inclusion when it comes on to students with disabilities. I think Jamaica has made some efforts in the last years to kind of close that gap. So teachers coming from some countries, that is so very new to them. Differentiating lessons, considering you have different students with different English learning abilities, thinking about disabilities in terms of cognitive. How do you make that happen? So the 20 students before you, the 30 students before you, walk away knowing what you were teaching that day. So helping teachers to make, how do we form lessons? How do we create activities to make sure that happen? That was a big thing for so many of the teachers with whom I spoke. Another thing that I think teachers from some countries are, walking into the US, it was a little bit more challenging, is the idea that as a teacher, you're the veteran, you know everything you need to know. And so you can stay locked in your room, and asking for help is a sign of weakness. You don't want to ask for help. And so coming into the US sometimes with that mind frame can be at a massive disadvantage. Because like Subhadra said, like you said, like Greg said, it's a whole new environment. And so you need all the supports that you can get. Because again, things that worked in your home country will not necessarily work within the US. So it's going to be about building relationships, meeting teachers, and being really honest about your struggles. Because Jamaicans are, on a whole, like some other nations I know, pretty independent group of people. You've got your stuff right, you know what you're doing, I'm all good. So coming to the realization that you need to acknowledge that, hey, I really am struggling in this specific area. That's something that teachers will need to be able to wrap their heads around and ask for help. Because one of the things I found here is most teachers are willing to help. But if they don't know you need help, they're not going to come knocking at your door and be like, I can help you with this. But once you say, I'm struggling in this area, they're typically willing to go above and beyond to make that happen for you. Like Subhadra, I currently mentor teachers because, like her, I so remembered what it was like the first 2 years. JP, you said it so well, survival. You just keep under the radar, hold the head down, and just go, 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 go. From my standpoint, I know I'm like, I'm not going back to Jamaica, what, to say I failed at something. I'm going to pull out all the stops to be the best that I can be. And so, making sure that you use the resources that are around you is going to be crucial.
Okay, I'm going to give you a quote from your book. It says, an international teacher is ideally positioned to help prepare students for the world in which we live and future worlds. Can you comment on that?
The world is no longer, I call it, nations are no longer siloed. We live in an environment now where there are literally almost like no borders. And so when you think about what we need to survive, not just in one country, but on a global level, it's going to be so important to prepare students to realize that there are countries out there that are different in some ways than yours. There are similarities, but there are differences as well. It's important to acknowledge those differences, not just acknowledge them, but to respect the differences. I think a big piece to this is to understand the history behind cultural practices. So if we can take students there, they're better positioned to acknowledge the differences and then to respect them as well. And I can give you one example that I'll share sometimes that just blows some students' minds. Dishes that we eat, I'm big on cuisines. I love food, really. And so in Jamaica, a typical dish, for example, is cow's feet. And I'll have people just be shocked out of their wits.
Cow feet, you said, like a hoof.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
I'm
So
shocked.
right? And so how did that happen? How did, Jamaicans get to eat, the way they eat? What are some of the things behind the things they do? And so, we were able to take it all the way back to the era of colonization, when what were left for people who were not, people were in a lesser position. What was there for them to eat? They couldn't afford meat, clearly. So, the people who were in the minority at the time, they had to eat. And so what was available? And I think it's one of the reasons I like to think that they're so resilient. They will take whatever is available and they'll make the best use of it. So I will say to people, if you can understand the reason behind the practices, you're better positioned to understand people. And again, with borders being really minimized now or removed, we need to have that understanding of other countries. Only then will you be able to not just understand where they're coming from, but to contribute to decision making in a way that's meaningful, understand their needs and be able to meet them where they are. So I think that's so very important. And who is better positioned to help students? Because I can talk about Mexico all I want, what is my experience really? It is going to be from books that I've read or the media, which is not always accurate. And I always say, for example, I've got one friend, she's from Kenya. And one of the things students asked her to do when she got here was show us how you dance around the fire. She's never danced around a fire in her lifetime. That's what comes to their mind. So I think when teachers from other countries can bring their culture to the United States, expose students so they have a bigger view, a bigger lens through which to view people from different countries, it does make a difference. It empowers them to participate better, not just in society within one sector, but right across the world.
You know, when you said dance around the fire, that's their idea of it. My friends in the U.S. When I first went overseas, and I had to include this in my book, it's like I'm not teaching native kids like in a hut in the middle of Africa, and then go and play soccer in the afternoon, and then eat some kind of weird dish with the elders in a straw hut at night, and then do it all over again with like 40 screaming kids teaching them English. I am actually doing what you're doing, like another third grade teacher in the States is doing. It's just I have different children, right? I have different students. And overseas, I get it from the other end. They're like, I'm originally from Wisconsin. And they say, where's that? Is that near New York? And I say, no, it's not. It's a little bit west of New York. They're like, oh, okay. California? And I'm like, no, it's somewhere in between. It's in between California and New York, right? But you get it from both sides. And the idea is it doesn't even have to come from you, like you're saying. It comes from the kids and the mixture of kids explaining to each other and sharing each other's experiences of where they're from. And we have to help the teachers realize almost that you have to be proud of where you're from and explore other teachers of where they're from. So it's such a big mixed bag of nuts. I really enjoyed listening to how you explain it, that it's a world without borders. It really is in each of our prospective countries.
You become a spokesperson without knowing, an official spokesperson for your country, for your passport country and your previous experiences. And all of a sudden you realize, wait, I think I need to know a little bit more about my country before I start talking about the culture, and that did spark in me a desire to discover my country and drive through and see the provinces. But what I was thinking as well was tolerance. That word kept coming up while you were talking. We are teaching a tolerance to the children of the international schools when they have teachers from around the world, they have other students from around the world. And as you say, they have different ways of doing things, different ways of saying things. We're teaching that different doesn't mean wrong. Different means different. So It's an acceptance. It's a tolerance in the sense of acceptance.
We're ambassadors.
Wanting to learn, and wanting to discover the world through teachers and students coming into the classroom. And in the end, it comes down to that acceptance, learning that your way isn't always going to be the only way to do things.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you mentioned the word ambassador, because in the book, I refer to it as informal. You have formal ambassadors to different nations. I'm like, you're an informal ambassador to your country. So absolutely accurate.
Subhadra, we've come to the point in the podcast where we normally want to ask about police stories. Is there, by chance, maybe even with driving, but is there a police story that you have that could be shared and that's humorous and kind of lighthearted?
Right. So my first month when I was waiting to get my grant together here, settle in this country, I was trying to drive slowly one day just because I thought speeding gives you a ticket. But I was stopped by the policeman saying that sorry, ma'am, you're a little slow on this road there.
You're driving too slow.
It's too slow. And it's a small street. It's not that you're in the middle of the traffic where people are trying to get by you. It was not. But that was a learning for me that even slow driving, you can be stopped when we question. So he was laughing because he just gave me a warning. He says, welcome to the country. It was very nice. But I found it funny, and I kept sharing with everyone saying, hey, it's not just speeding. Slow driving can be questioned too.
I
Very
bet you
good.
didn't live that down for a whole month at school. People are probably giving you hell for that.
Calling you turtle.
I know. I learn quick.
Coreen?
I really don't have a funny one, but I've had at least three encounters, right? And they've all been very positive. I remember, I think one of my last one was I was heading into Charlotte for a conference. And the police had stopped someone on the side of the road and they were doing their business. That's what was going on in my head. They're doing their business. I'm going about my business. And so I passed them. And as soon as I passed, almost within seconds, I'm hearing, ooh, ooh. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Is that me? Oh, I'm like, probably it's me. So I pulled over and it was me. And so they rolled up to my window after. And this always, I'm always wondering, they stop you and then they take like 5 years to get to your window.
They're checking license plates. They're checking
They're
their
running your
email.
history.
Right. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, the conference is, it's about to go. Let's go. But I'm all polite and pleasant. And he walked up and he's like, so where are you going, ma'am? And I told him where I was headed. He's like, okay, what do you do for a living and everything? And then he said, do you know why I stopped you? I'm like, I don't. So he's like, okay, whenever someone is pulled over on the side, you either need to move over one or you need to go below a certain speed limit. So I'm like,
So
okay,
you don't hit them. Yeah.
right. I'm like, okay, that's good to know. In my mind, I'm thinking I was so far from you because that's one thing here. The roads are really very wide. In Jamaica, one lane here, in many ways in Jamaica, is split into two lanes in Jamaica. So when I'm in one lane and I'm like, they're all the way over the other side, I'm like, I saw you, I definitely would not have hit you anyway.
I don't even think they have lanes in India, do they? I'm just joking. I know. I'm sorry.
I would like to answer that. There
Go
are
One
ahead.
lane is 6.
but people can merge. And then what you experience is what you call as road rage. So my funny story about that is my first year when I got back home from here. Here you get punished if you honk without a reason, correct? You can't use your siren or what do you call it,
Yep.
honk. But in India, even if you don't have space, people are so used to it, so it becomes like a reflex. Somebody behind you honks, you start honking. You know there is no way anyone can go anywhere. So I experienced that. I said, what's wrong with me? I never used a horn when I was in the US, but here automatic is just like a reflex. So that's something.
Every country has a different horn culture, don't they? Every country
Yes.
has different traffic,
Yes.
different horn culture. It's crazy. Like some countries you go to, they're just honking to let you know that they're passing you.
It's a brake reflex. I'm
Yes.
braking, honk.
Yes.
Correct.
Some countries I've been to, it just seems like every time you touch the brake, you have to honk.
That's it.
I know, right? I have another question for both of you. And let's go with Coreen first. When you moved to the States, when you moved out of your country, did you bring 3 different things with you? What would 3 things be that you eventually maybe brought with you or took with you from the beginning to make you feel at home?
Definitely a recipe book. I wanted, even though I knew offhand so many of the different dishes there, I felt like if I can taste my food, that would be great, which did not really work out the way I intended because many of the ingredients for the different dishes, I couldn't find them anyway. So, but just looking at the book, I thought to myself, okay, this will have to suffice. I brought a flag with me because it will always remind me of my place is what I like to call it. The colors represent different things. The yellow on it is all about sunshine for me. So when it gets really cold here, I dream of warmth in Jamaica. What else did I bring? I also brought currency. And currency, not necessarily for my purposes, but to show the students with whom I was working that even money is different and the value is different depending on country. So, when I show them the coins we use, or currency, different notes, they're always like, wow, what can I buy with this when I go to Jamaica? Or what can you buy with this here? So those were things that I brought, some for personal reasons and some more so for sharing purposes.
Did you know, and I'll share this with the audience too, is that the U.S. is one of the few countries in the world that the denominations do not grow in size, like the actual bill stays the same size, right? So think
And
that the
same color.
$1, the $5, the 10. So if you are hard of sight, right? If you have difficulty seeing things, a lot of people that are blind, they cannot tell the difference. They have to fold their bills a certain way. And it's getting, outdated now with technology. But when you talk about actually the actual bills in different countries, think about your prospective countries. And the U.S. is one of the few that has the same size for all of its bills. Did you guys think about that? I don't know if you ever thought
I
about
didn't know
that.
about size, but I knew color because that was something I noticed when I first went to the US as a kid, was because we always had colored bills. 5 was always
Yeah, with
blue,
loons and
10 was always
moose on them.
purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have animals and things. But I remember thinking, gosh, like, how do you know? You really have to know your numbers, a 1 and a 1 with a 0, because it's not a different color. That was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, that was a concern for me. That's why if I have to use a $100 bill, I'll be very careful. I want to give it as a $1. And then even the coins, I would always wonder why the nickel is bigger than a dime, although the value of dime is more. So I would always kind of question these, but there's nothing you can do just by learning. So that's what I would put it in different folds. If it's a $100 bill, I would have it at a safe place in the wallet. But now, of course, all that problem with all these
You get used to it now. Yeah.
Well, electronic payments,
payments, credit cards, and all. So that makes it. But yes, I do. I used to actually ask people around, and everybody would say, "We don't know." But dollar bill that I found here is actually made of cloth, because as a science teacher, I would do the demonstration of burning a dollar bill without actually burning. So if you dip a dollar bill, any denomination, in the 50% alcohol and water and put it in fire, alcohol is going to burn first. So if you just keep it for a few seconds, when alcohol is evaporating, that gives you a flame. So that's called burning a dollar bill without actually burning it.
The kid's like,
My
wow.
yeah. My students will do the demonstration during expo too. So I said, okay, something it's useful. It's not all paper. So I started giving respect that a dollar bill deserves.
Nice.
So while you have the floor, why don't you tell us the 3 things that you would have brought with you or think about bringing?
And Coreen's answer made it easy for me. While she was answering, I was trying to think. So I did bring all the cultural things that I can exchange with my teachers here, souvenirs that I can gift. One is Elephant God, the statue of Elephant God, Ganesha. Who is like, everybody would say that if you pray to that God, it breaks all the hurdles. But I would bring something as a souvenir that people actually can connect with. A lot of them, they know about it. They could call them Elephant God. And then a flag, I had a flag. I would bring currency just to show the difference. And I would have actually a poster board, a foldable poster board in my room with all these things attached. I would bring the lentils because I'm a vegetarian. So I would often have kids would say, without meat, how do you survive? So I had to tell them that, and I cook, like we cook a lot in India. So I would say that even if I cook every day, for a month, I don't have to repeat the dishes. There are so many varieties of beans and lentils. So when I brought, other than these cultural items, I had a big suitcase full. Now the size, it has to be smaller. Thank God, back in those days, you can bring I brought a pressure cooker.
Wow.
It's like Darian.
And I brought all the spices because from what I knew, I said the nearest city is going to be 60 miles away. And I wasn't sure how often I could go there. So I bring all the things to survive for a month. Then my first year, I didn't bring my family. So I had my housemates as a Canadian and Spanish teachers. They were also teachers in our county. The funny story is the very first day I was trying to be a good hostess. I said, can I cook something for you? And they were all ready. They said, yeah, we can try some spices. I said, I'm going to keep it mild. So the dish that I made needed a pressure cooker. And you will laugh at this. And I didn't realize these are the things that you have to be aware of. When the pressure cooker, there will be a whistle, like when the pressure cooks. When the first whistle started ringing, my Canadian roommate ran from the house. She was freaking out with the
She thought
sound of
something
the
was going to
whistle.
blow up.
Yes,
Oh my God! He runs out of the.
and the sound was so kind of loud. See, some of the things for us, it's like normal. I didn't even think through. All that I was focusing on was the spices. But I didn't think that the sound is going to alarm us. She actually ran outside and I was like laughing. She came back and then she was calm. Because in Canada, there are Indians. It's just that was maybe the close encounter, I must say. Nobody cooked in the house where she was living. So that was fun. So these are the things that I brought. But big suitcase at the customs, I had to wait for 2 hours because in that small place, people were not used to having Indians with all the spices one by one. What is this, ma'am? What is this, ma'am? So, and then people who came to receive me, they had to wait long time. They didn't expect it's going to be for 2 hours. I did not expect to go through the customs. Well, so that was funny. Once I landed, and I was so dressed to attend the dinner at the time because I said there won't be any time for us to change. So that's how I got welcomed by our sponsors. They were a nice bunch.
It's amazing to think back when you get to a country and those first few hours, the arrival and leading up to that first, maybe the night there and falling asleep going, where am I? Or you wake up the next morning going, where am I? Right? Wow. 2 hours.
Yes, yes. And I'm recalling after 20 years, sometimes, unless you're talking about all this, who thinks about this? But yeah, now I feel that, I don't need to bring anything because everywhere, that's what I'm saying, availability has increased. My students now, they go to Indian restaurants. Of course, the taste is different. Authentic food is in the country. There's a water, the air, whatever makes a difference. Authenticity might be a little different, but they have options. People are aware of it. People are exposed to all this now, more than when we came first.
And Subhadra, can you clarify, you now have your family with you? They're not still back in India?
Yes, so I have a husband and I have a daughter. So both of them are with me now.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Because I think that's one of the big differences as well, is that it sounds like the organization you go through, they want you to come over first as a single teacher. Correct. Okay.
And I would say they're not wrong because there is so much adjustment needs to be made that it's better you come here first, get settled in, and then bring your family, especially you have children. Because if you uproot them to a new school and you are trying to adjust in the school yourself, and then you have to, take your children to the school, pick them up, drop them off, get them to know everything while they are making new friends and you're trying to make new friends. It's a lot. So that part, although it is difficult, I do agree with the advice that we are given to come alone first.
Darian did the same thing his first time overseas. He went first, and then after he settled in and got all of the things taken care of, then he brought his family over, and he swears by that. I'm sorry, Coreen.
No. I was just saying that's an interesting perspective because when I came here, there were 3 teachers who came immediately with their families. So I think JP and Greg, it would be interesting to get some perspectives. Your next guests on the show.
I was thinking a second book, Coreen.
Okay, I hear you, JP. Right, it would be interesting to see, those who came without and those who came with. What's the difference in terms of settling in and what was that like?
Book 3 for Corinne. Book 3 for Corinne.
Oh, book 3. Because I was thinking, from a question of support as well. It's going to be different when you have the support of your family. You go home and it's sort of normal back in your home, and then your adventures outside the home. But I can also see Subhadra's point is you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated, and you can't bringing your family over would add to that stress, I think, in some cases. Well, I would just like to say this has been a very fast hour. It has been such a fast hour, and we've loved having you on. We've loved learning. I think our listeners, one of the things we love about this is that we travel without even leaving our home. Hearing you talk about your adventures, we have traveled to India, we've traveled to Jamaica, as well as North Carolina there. Before we go, Greg, have you got some final thoughts?
I'm so overwhelmed with more and more questions for these two. I hope that you guys come back on our show when you publish your third book, right? And we do hope to get it at some point in digital. But yeah, when I go back to the States, I am going to look up that book and definitely get a hold of it. And I can't wait to read it. So that was my thought.
And Coreen, final thoughts for our listeners?
Thank you so much, first of all, Greg and JP, for hosting us today. It's been an amazing time. I agree with you, JP. The time just kind of went by. I'm like, okay, it's the end already. Yeah. But for all teachers who are thinking, oh, I need something new, I need new adventures, new journeys, new experiences, I would absolutely recommend the International Teachers Pathway. There's so much opportunities, so many opportunities to grow. And one of the things I like is when teachers are finished with their stint with whatever organization they came with. I think it's like chapter 9 in the book. We talk about teachers who leave and either go back to their home countries, go back to different countries, but at the end of the day, they're always better from having come to the United States to work. They just go back with endless number of strategies and skills that they can use to better equip their education system. So I say, bring your culture on over. Let's share. Let's help students who are here, teachers who are here, adults who are here, get a better understanding of your country. And hey, sell your country well as you're at it. Just like
as
Greg,
the unofficial ambassador.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Subhadra, final words for our listeners.
Yeah, thank you, Greg and JP, for giving us this platform to reach out to more teachers, especially international teachers. It's not only the book, they can always reach out to us for anything. The struggles that we have gone through, they don't have to go through. That's the whole point of trying to collaborate on this book, so that we can share anything that we want. And sometimes what we have covered in the book may not cater to their personal needs. So as a local advisor, as a mentor, sometimes we try to differentiate, we try to individualize their needs. We do have experience, we have friends, we have network that we can get the support that they need. We just don't want anyone to give up if they ever want to explore this teaching. Teachers are needed around the world. So let's please help each other in the community and make this world a better place.
I tell you what, JP, if I ever go back to the U.S. and actually teach there, I'm going to go visit these two and reach out and ask them, because I haven't taught the States. I only trained there.
You're going to need them mentoring you. Fantastic.
I know. For any teacher going back to the U.S., this is the episode to listen to, because
repatriating,
wow, right?
And you too, please come as a guest speakers, because that's what I try to do. Like in my school, history teacher, I go as a guest speaker, as a cultural ambassador. Any foreign language teacher, when they are teaching something, I teach the language that we speak in India, Hindi and some other languages that we have. So we too want you, when you visit us in the United States, please, it's an invitation for both of you. Come.
I think I'm going to send Kent to your classroom is what I'm going to do.
There we go. Well, this has been such a pleasure, ladies. And I want to thank you for reaching out to us, coming onto the show and sharing your wisdom, sharing your stories, your adventures. And I really do also hope you come back and join us. Third book or not, just come and join and share more stories. A second hour is for sure going to be easy to fill as this hour was. I would like to thank Greg, the single guy. You can find Greg on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all kinds of places, but especially you can find him on Amazon.com. Finding the Right Fit and the Best Kept Secret in International Education. No, the Best Kept Secret in Education, International Teaching. I know. Just go look up Greg Lemoyne on Amazon and you will find his books. I would like to thank Coreen Anderson and Subhadra Deyaraju from North Carolina now. And their book is Reaching Beyond Borders. And you can also find that where you find your great books. And I am JP Mint, Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting. You can find me on www.jpmintconsulting. And that's it. That's a wrap. This is my first outro.
Well,
so thank you very much,
JP.
Listeners, and we'll see you next time.
That's great. Wait till Kent hears what you did, huh? Ladies, don't